What's up guys, welcome to Voicey here. This is your host that just spent the last 2 days playing an ungodly amount of Kingdom Come Deliverance. That game is amazing. Captain Zach, and today's subreddit is r/ProRevenge, your favorite.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.
This story is called, When Karen Used Down Syndrome Kids Against Me, She Didn't Expect This. I can finally talk about this after years of threats of legal action, etc. It is now officially over. Back in 2003, when unemployed, I decided to volunteer at a local education facility that specializes in helping out young to late teen kids with Down syndrome or high levels of autism, which causes themselves to be antisocial. I hate not being able to work, so volunteering not only got myself out of my boring doing nothing everyday schedule, but also gave me a positive when applying for work. Everyone likes someone who is always trying to better themselves. It is a great place with some great people who also volunteer, and the kids are imaginative and show love unconditionally. The local community was also amazing, donating items, clothes, food, and money to help keep the facility running. Just shy of 2 years later, after many people coming and going, Karen appears. At first, she has a nice smile and is accommodating. The kids seem to love her a lot, until the jealousy started. Karen didn't understand. For the last 2 years, I have been doing volunteering even when doing part-time jobs I could find. So she assumed I was just recently new. So when the kids always came to me to give hugs and tell me what they did that day and show off their art, well, Karen didn't like this, and she was jealous of my popularity with the kids. This started a spate of things happen. I was a smoker at that time. Not anymore, have since quit 7 years ago. Best thing ever. So a rule was to make sure lighters, matches, and cigarettes were locked away in lockers at all times. This included medication, mobile phones, anything that could be a bad thing in the wrong hands. Although the kids would tell anyone that something that was sitting out in the open that shouldn't be there was there, and we would put them away. But this one day, Karen had gone to manager or HR administration to say that I had left my cigarettes out with my lighter, an electronic one which was unique. I was busy that day, so I was apologetic, as I could have easily forgotten, as you are kept on your feet constantly. But in the back of my mind, I had a niggling doubt that I am sure I put them in my locker. Over the next 4 months, every 2 to 3 weeks, something else was left in the open, or a door to the cleaning closet was left open after I had used the equipment inside. Each time, Karen had went to the manager or HR to say something about this. Karen has kids of her own that left after they hit 18. So at the time, I am putting it down to automatic motherly defensiveness for the kids. The following month, one of the girls, we will call her Jo, not a real name, had a burst into the room crying with blood flowing quickly from her nose. All the volunteers, including myself, instantly went to check up on Jo. She was looking flustered, looked at me, and gave me a big yell and ran off to hide. Whenever Jo was flustered or upset about something, she would always hide. But she always came to me first to say why or to hint at why. But this time, she didn't. And then, Karen bursted in. "How could you do this to Jo?" Devil eyes peering at me. I am taken aback. "What? Who? What do you mean? What happened to Jo?" She replied, "I can't believe I just watched you 5 minutes ago punch her in the face." And she rushed off to manager HR. I am standing there, aghast, unsure of what the hell is going on. Jo in the corner somewhere behind boxes, crying her eyes out. Some new volunteers looking at me as if I am bad. And the other kids looking perplexed because I have never done this at all before. Even with Down syndrome, they understand most of what is going on around them. Manager comes in quickly, looking angry, which is understandable, hearing what Karen told her. Asked me why I did this. This shocked me hard because here is the manager who has known me for the last 2.5 years and instantly thought I could do this to the kids. I denied, of course. I have been in the room for at least 25 minutes. The others couldn't corroborate, as we are always busy and we don't notice small things like who was in the room and for how long. The manager goes to Jo and asks her. She looks at me and instantly sobs her heart out again and says with a stammering, "Yes." This hit me harder than the manager instantly thinking I could do this. Joe has been like a little sister who would tell me everything and would always come to me when in trouble. So police were called, everyone gave their information. Joe was too scared and still in her place of hiding, so I was effectively let go pending an investigation. Hardly anyone gets reinstated after any type of investigation, but Joe's parents were seemingly at a loss for words and didn't think I could do this, and after talking to Joe on their own, they dropped charges. But the damage was done, and I was asked to never come back. I later found out that Karen, in her jealousy, was telling other newer volunteer staff that I was touching up the kids, always hitting them, and leaving dangerous stuff about. She had watched me at my locker, digital number keypad type, and saw my pin for the locker and left things about, including the lighter and cigarettes, all because the kids would always come to me. Fast forward to 2009. After lots of rejections from other places for volunteering, one place was run by an ex-volunteer who knew this was all BS and gave me a chance. She was great and understanding. We would help all types of people in the community to do events for charities, etc. I enjoyed it very much. One day, the boss came to me and said, "Oh, guess who's coming with the kids today? Only goddamn Karen!" Since years back, Karen has moved up the ranks, so to speak, and had, through some rumors, forced the manager to quit. So she wanted the ex-volunteer who ran this place to help the kids put on a play so she can show it off to a regional director who helps fund the facility I used to volunteer at. Oh boy. Luckily, Karen never gets to see me. She talked to the person who runs the place that I'm at now. Everything is arranged, and the kids would come twice a week for 5 months to work on and rehearse their play they would put on. Sort of like real-life situations that they meet in their lives and how to overcome them. And of the eldest kids is Joe. She sees me and rushes over to me and hugs me to death, crying at the same time, saying, sorry, about what seemed like forever. I patted her head and said it's okay, because I know she was coerced into it. It fit the scenario. Joe told me everything she could about Karen. She punched Joe, told her to blame me. She wouldn't, then she got punched again in the same spot. This time with a threat to tell them it was me or she would never come back here and go to the bad place, which was a publicly funded place, which isn't really good. Light bulb moment. Real life situation and how to overcome them. I got in touch with Joe's parents and they were so apologetic because Joe told them everything and they tried to tell the manager in HR before, but she put it down to Joe isn't sure and just wanted me back. So I told them of the play and if we could introduce Joe's experience with Karen as part of the play. They were hesitant at first, and after a couple of hours, I get a text on my phone. Yeah, go for it. Take that lying bench down. So months go by. Joe knew not to tell anyone about the play. It was a secret. Then, it was time for the big night. Room is packed. Other groups did their choirs, plays, artistic dances. It was a great night. I looked through the thick wine curtains at the stage to see Karen, looking all pleased with herself next to the director. Apparently this was make or break for Karen. Please the director, get the manager position, which was a paid position and not volunteer. She was temporary manager and being paid, but this would solidify it. Then the kids came on. Each group did their own things. They were amazing and people were enjoying it. Some jokes here and there that we helped the kids remember. Then Joe was last. A solo performance. Joe stood on the stage and in her best voice, "My time at redacted facility name by Joe." I am watching Karen through the curtain and she is looking perplexed, forcing a smile at the director who was loving it and was paying super attention to all the kids. Who wouldn't be if you are funding the kids? So I stepped to the side of the curtain, and then eventually Karen's eyes met my face, and I cheekily waved. And then her face became one of massive concern. Joe put on an amazing performance, and the pièce de résistance was her solo part about Karen. In the dark, with a light shining on Joe for a dramatic effect, she mimicked what happened to her that day. "That hurt me, Karen. Why did you punch me? You did this to me, not..." Redacted, me of course. Then she covers her nose again as if hit again. "No, Karen, don't hit me again. I don't want to leave here."
I'll do it.
She stands up straight from her crouched defensive position and says,
Karen told me to lie and say,
redacted,
hit me or I would go to the bad place.
The director's face was unforgettable. He sat with his jaw literally hanging down and mouth agape. Karen was looking at me, at Joe, at the director, back and forth, back and forth. You could see her trying to figure out something to save herself. I just walked backstage, job done. Later, I high-fived Joe and told her, good job. You're amazing. She gave me the biggest, cheesiest grin with a thumbs up, made me tear up. Karen blamed me for obviously making Joe say all these things, and police were called again, but my boss didn't take her side, of course, and allowed me to remain. For years, Karen would always serve me up some weird summons to court for one thing or another. I would go and she wouldn't, so I automatically win. Now, there is a second ProRevenge here. One of the girls who was at the facility when I was there, Meg, again, not her real name, she had Down syndrome, but also multiple sclerosis. Sweetest girl ever. She was bullied by Karen to say stuff about me, such as touching her, but Meg would say no every single time, even when Karen would pinch her badly on parts of her body, like arms or back of neck. Meg's parents thought kids at the facility were hitting her, and gave her a teddy bear she called Barry the Bear. Barry was special since it had a camera, so she would have the bear, and if anything bad happens, she knew to press the bear's paw to start recording. Anyway, they forgot about it because Meg didn't have any more marks, etc. I guess Karen stopped tormenting her. But unfortunately, Meg lost her battle with multiple sclerosis March of last year, and they were going through her things, and the father found Barry the Bear and remembered why they got it. They went through what was recorded. Now, back then, things like this did exist, but they were heavy and expensive and didn't have much storage. Well, Joe was playing with Barry the Bear as Meg allowed her to play with him. They were good friends. Joe must have accidentally pushed the paw to start the recording, and on the recording, you could hear Karen in the background coming near. Karen had a policy of telling kids not to touch things that aren't theirs, so Joe must have feared that and put Barry on the shelving next to her. And we didn't see what happened, but it recorded sounds. The threats, the audible strikes, the crying. So Meg's parents told me about this, and that started me down the legal route to finally get Karen for good. It resulted in going to court, and after a day, they found Karen guilty. But she was banned from working with kids, placed on a registry which records violence against children for 15 years, and was fined $50,000 and was to pay damages to me, Joe, and Meg's parents. Unfortunately, the stigma I received back then never did go away, and I still can't go back to the facility to volunteer even after the truth, but that is okay. I am currently going to start a new job and will volunteer on weekends. But I know that Karen and her ambitious jealousy is now having the worst time ever. Everyone in the community knows what she did, and she has become a bit of a recluse and hardly ventures anywhere. Okay, so it's obvious that Karen here volunteered for the ego boost and for the, for the clout that comes with, oh yeah, I volunteer with these special needs children, and yeah, I'm so good of a person. And you know what? I feel like that's okay to do stuff like that just for, your own ego. Because if you're doing a good job, you're still helping kids that do need help. Obviously, you want volunteer work to come from a place of genuineness, because I guess in the case of doing it for your own ego, it is kind of demeaning to those that you are volunteering for, but they are still getting the help that they need and deserve, so I don't have much of a problem with it. However, she definitely took it like 100 steps too far, to the point where the only thing that's genuine about Karen's actions is that they were genuinely garbage and she's a disgusting, not even person, just lower than scum. I'm sure we can all agree with that. You can put whipped cream on something that's not that good and it makes it a little bit better. Well, Seafoam? Seafoam is like basically whipped animal proteins and lipids, and it's nasty stuff. Essentially, it's all waste. It's all animal waste, and like fish poo and, it's waste. Well, that seafoam is the whipped cream you would put on the dish that is the Karen to improve it exponentially, because Karen is disgusting and yeah, that's horrible, that poor kid. But I'm glad she got what was coming to her. But I feel like there could have been more of a punishment because she did assault children. And who knows how many other victims there actually were.
This story's called Today I Fudged Up by Pranking My Son. I feel like I'm a pretty cool dad. I wouldn't say I'm anything special, but I'm super easygoing, supportive, and encouraging toward my teenage boys. For the last few years, Josh, my youngest, now 14, has been playing pranks and jokes on me and editing the videos and my responses to show his friends. He's even put some on YouTube, but they've never really taken off to the extent that he had hoped. Everything has been fairly harmless, and I've never had an issue being the brunt of his pranks. I have, though, been secretly plotting my revenge. About 6 months ago, I contacted a TV network in my home country who put me in touch with the producers of a popular prank show aimed at kids. After much back and forth and a few telephone calls, the producers agreed that they would help me take my revenge on Josh in an elaborate to-be-broadcasted prank that would see him, finally, as the protagonist. My eldest boy, Blake, 15, was in on the prank and was to play a part alongside some actors that the show was going to provide. 2 days ago, one day before the intended prank, and whilst Josh was staying at a friend's house, the TV producers and crew came to my house to set up all their equipment, hidden cameras, and props for what was going to be a home haunting special for their Halloween broadcast. The episode will never be broadcast. Both Josh and his friend, who is also not in on the intended prank, came home none the wiser and spent the early afternoon on the Xbox in his room. As prank time approached, I made the excuse of having to go and pick up some takeaway, and it was during this time that the haunting was due to take place. I drove my car to the next street, pulled up, and was invited into the makeshift producer's gallery in a temporary building on a neighbor's property. Immediately, the crew sprang into action, rolling their cameras and coordinating their actors, my other son Blake, and their crew on the radios. I was paying attention to the presenter, who was being filmed alongside me, observing the prank that was about to unfold, when all of a sudden I heard the words, "Terminate! Terminate! Terminate!" screamed from the seat beside me. I thought that this was part of the show and giggled with delight as I took my attention off the presenter and faced the camera monitors next to me to watch the prank begin. To my absolute shock, the hidden cameras at home were showing my son and his friend engaged in mouth fun time. I froze up for a moment, processed what was going on, and ran back to the house, where I was forced to intervene and tell Josh everything that was happening. I have never seen my kid so absolutely horrified in his life. He went pale, vomited everywhere, and cried uncontrollably for about 2 hours. His friend was equally distraught, and I did my best to keep them as calm as possible, whilst I tried to work out what to do. I'm still not sure that I have done the right thing. I booked a hotel and took my kids there and left the TV crew under my neighbor's supervision to pack everything up. I dropped Josh's friend to his house, but have not yet discussed the matter with his parents, though they are aware something went wrong during the filming of the show, but that everyone was okay. I am still at the hotel tonight with both the boys, and I have not heard from the producers yet. Josh hasn't really spoken to me or opened up all day, and I'm not sure how to approach the subject other than with apologies and support. I'm 90% sure that Blake has told his friends, even though he says he hasn't. Today, I flubba-dubba-dub-dub-dub. You know what? I was gonna say that took an unexpected turn, but when they started talking about his friend being over and the hidden cameras and him leaving him alone, I kinda saw something. Oh, that poor kid. Everyone. That's just unfortunate for everyone in that entire situation, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.